Welcome to Unfiltered. The Rugby League World Cup Round 2 is done and dusted. We are moving on to Round 3. And while there's been a lot of interest in both New Zealand and Papua New Guinea, the hype in Australia hasn't been too much. And boys, I can't say it's been promoted or talked about, or there doesn't seem to be too much talk about it at all. Why do you reckon that is?
Oh, like you said, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea being fantastic. You know, the first two games, especially Tonga and Samoa last week, was great. There was a fair crowd in Christchurch for Scotland and New Zealand. Papua New Guinea have sold out twice. For me, it's the logistics of the thing. I think we're moving the Northern Hemisphere countries around too much. In the World Cup in 2013, we were based in Warrington, so the community really got behind the Samoan team, the Kiwi team, and everyone else who was in our pool. But when you're moving them around, it doesn't give the community enough sense of going to, I want to really get behind this nation. So it's been disappointing, the crowds.
Yeah, I'd say with the Australian side especially. I mean, Australia's the number one country in the world. They've got the best players. A lot of the Aussie kids, New Zealand kids want to see them play. You know, their first game was against England down in Melbourne. There's probably your first mistake. I think it should have been based in Sydney. I think you would have got more. There's a lot more English here. There's obviously a lot more Aussies here. They would have at least got 35,000. They would have kicked it off really great. You know, no disrespect to Melbourne, but that's AFL territory.
Yeah.
And then the next game they play France, they're in Canberra. You know what I mean? There's no following down there. I mean, what they got probably 12,000. It wasn't that big. You know, so I just think they're just moving, especially the Australian team around, let alone the Northern Hemisphere teams. They're in Cairns, they're in PNG. It's winter over there. They've got to play, you know, Wales and Ireland are in Perth. You know what I mean? So I think just the whole logistics, as you said, like no one can get behind a Welsh team. Just say they played with so much grit, or an Irish team. You know, Aussies just love, you know, some battlers who are just having a crack. And I think the Irish team have been like that.
Yeah.
You know, but no, you don't get a chance to go support Ireland. Ireland were based in Cairns, okay, for the whole time. They get a bigger following. But now they've got to go over to Perth. No one gives a shit about rugby league over in Perth.
Well, the Union side, I mean, when in the Union World Cup, what they do is they base each team in a place, and they're there usually for 4 weeks in the pool stages.
That's exactly what
and that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
so, look, the other thing that I don't understand is with the pools, you've got pools of four, and then there's teams playing teams that aren't in their pool. Now, it looks like there's a mix of the two pools playing against each other. It's confusing to me. I mean, you might understand.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit more. You can go through. So there's 4 in the first one, 4, 3, and 3. So 3 go through in the first pool and the second, which is Australia, England, and Lebanon, probably. And then the second will be New Zealand, Tonga, and probably Samoa. And then there's only one from the 3 and 4. It sounds confusing as hell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Fiji will go through and PNG.
Yeah.
So there's your 8 teams.
Yeah, right.
And then the finals start. So, but I don't even really understand that, let alone the guy who's just turning up to games. So, I mean, like just how as if they couldn't get another 2 teams.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't, as if they couldn't got an Indigenous side, a Cook Island side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A Greek side. There's a lot of other teams, a Canadian side. There's a lot of teams that play rugby league. And as I said before, like the Union did it, they sacrificed all these other teams like Japan just to make more teams. Who cares if you get beat by 150?
It's the experience.
Just put them in there. Get them the experience about playing against Australia and see what the real deal's like.
Yeah.
You're going to get beat by 70 or 80. But it gives them a chance to get on the world stage and start building. But they're just not doing it.
I have no doubt the crowds will improve when it comes to quarterfinals and semis, especially up in Brisbane. I would prefer to see them play at suburban grounds, you know, at least make it look like there's a bigger crowd. And again, the community might get behind. So you're playing at Leichhardt. The people around the Balmain area might get there. Belmore, for example.
Turn into an event.
Turning into an event, but I think it's a learning experience.
We had it here before, 2008. Like, as I said, like, why put the Australian-Lebanon game or Australian-French game down in Canberra? Put it in a suburban place in Sydney, Belmore, Leichhardt, somewhere like, you'll jam-pack the joint out.
Canberra is the rugby league.
Yeah, but they don't
turn up. Yeah, well, I mean, they turn up for the Raiders. You want to hope they get there to support just rugby league in general. I don't think the crowd was too bad, but overall, in the scheme of the whole World Cup, it's been a little bit disappointing.
I think the organisers need to be commended for, as we've said before, allowing people of a specific heritage to play for their country, but there probably are things in this that could have been done better. But moving on, so Australia played France. That was a carve-up. That was always going to be a carve-up. Nothing really to take from that game. Australia played okay.
Oh, all Australia's doing is risking injury, really. But you got to play them games, and you got to give other kids, a chance to play Test football. The Tom Dragojeviches and all these sort of young kids that
And it's
deserve.
good experience.
It is a good experience. But always, I was thinking the other night, I was like, Test football is just so. When I used to play Test football, it was against New Zealand, England, or something like that. These kids they're not getting tested. You know what I mean? You're playing against Scotland, you're playing against Wales, you're playing against Lebanon, you're playing against France. I know it's a World Cup, and I might be a little bit sceptic, but I mean, it's not a test. I don't think it should be even counted as a test.
No, well, I mean, you got to start somewhere. You know,
Start
somewhere.
We used to play against Wales and France in our first couple of years. They didn't even count them as tests. They were warm-up games. They're not on your resume. That's not even put as a test.
Got to be a test now if it's a World Cup, though.
Well, it was pretty much a World Cup back then. They just didn't call it a World Cup.
10, 15 years when these nations might be stronger, at least the Australians, we set the precedent for these countries to get stronger. It's not going to be pretty at first, and we're going to beat them by a lot of points, but it will get better.
We were down in Melbourne for Derby on the weekend, and I must say, like, anywhere you went, it wasn't on any of the pubs anywhere. There was no buzz about it at all, to be honest. So
yeah, it'll pick up during the semis. And
I think that's Australian mentality. What do? With our favourite game, the NRL, we care about the first 5 rounds, then we care about the Test, then we don't give a shit, then we care about Origin, then we don't give a shit, and then we care about maybe the Final 4, but then we turn up for that. It's going to be similar with the World Cup. Just get through all this bullshit.
Yeah.
Get to the finals, then we'll turn up. Well, I'm hoping that they're going to turn up especially in the semis and the final. At least get 50.
One of the next blowouts was New Zealand 74 beating Scotland 6. Scotland played like they were drunk, which is ironic because 3 of them actually were and got banned off the plane.
I was just very surprised when a Scottish bloke named Johnny Walker couldn't make the plane and he was pissed.
Was dicing with
Shout out to Johnny Walker. Great work, mate. Living up to that name.
It isn't a good look though for those 3 blokes. Like to be not like you're representing your country and then the day after.
I mean, everybody's been pissed after a game. I mean, like they must have just been carrying on a little bit.
Yeah.
And it only takes a little bit these days. You know, if you're a little bit intoxicated and you're swaying a little bit, you just got to pull your shit together when you get on a plane. Yeah. I've been doing just about to get on a plane, half pissed. Just pull your head in, and that's where leadership and all that sort of stuff comes in. Saying, hey mate, you're acting like an idiot. Get in line and you'll get on the plane. Don't be fucking going around and throwing stuff and acting like an idiot. Otherwise, they'll just they'll earmark you and they go, yeah, he's been a dickhead.
It was the senior player too. He was that Danny Brough.
Yeah, Danny Brough's the senior player, so that's a little bit disappointing. But I mean, the World Cup made a decision to send him home, and
you can see why.
Yeah, so.
Would have been like carrying him on like weekend at Byrne's, I suppose. The next game was probably the pick of the round, which was Samoa versus Tonga. Tonga put 32 points on Samoa.
Yep.
Samoa came back with 18.
Okay.
You all right, Ren? Here we go. This was a tough game for you too.
Tough loss.
Okay.
You know what? It was incredible, the atmosphere there. I don't think there was anyone in Tonga. There was that many Tongans there. You see a few Samoan flags in between.
There was flights from Vava'u, there was flights from Nuku'alofa everywhere.
I was like... But the way they embraced before it, I wasn't sure if they were going to do their respective huckers, like the Sipatau and the...
How good was it?
It was unbelievable. I've watched it so many times. Yeah. It gives me goosebumps every time. It was incredible how they said a prayer before that, and then they took their formations, and then they went to war. And they respected each other's... we'll call it haka, so everyone else knows what we're talking about. They respected each other, and they played hard. Tonga put on a fantastic performance. I think...
You know what I love is like just say everyone was worried about, with the young kid burning the flag and the disrespect and people coming out and all the elders in the community come out and were just like just telling these young kids just to pull your head in, enjoy the game and just respect each other's heritage. Yeah. So people respect it, the players respected it. They were pretty much preaching everyone on Instagram, all this kind of stuff. And they did it. They put a great spectacle on. The 2 hikers were awesome. Ridiculous, man. The hairs on the back of your neck was just standing, up. If you've got any heritage, in Tonga and Samoa, like me and Reni and anyone else, you know what I mean. It was just a great spectacle.
Well, I tell you what, anyone who doubted Andrew Fafita and Jason Taumalolo's motives for playing for Tonga, you watch that, and you watch the passion that they had in that. You don't doubt anymore.
No. It just they just showed why they chose to play for Tonga
and what it meant.
And, on the back of that, David Tua obviously came out in the media. John Hopewadi, wore a Samoan shirt and, asked for peace within the community. I know South Auckland was going off. So, all the people in Auckland need to be commended for stopping all the violence.
And the players.
Enjoying a good game of rugby league. Tonga got the better of us this time, so we'll see what happens.
Unlucky us.
The next game was England against Lebanon. England were pretty average. Lebanon stood up a bit.
One of them games where England just,
Needed
as
to
I
win.
said, just got to get through. You've got to command Lebanon.
They were resilient. Young
They-
Jamie
they-
Clark.
They're going to have a crack, man.
There was a kid, Jamie Clark, that played hooker. I haven't seen him for about, I don't know, maybe 10 years. He was at the Bulldogs and he was cutting blokes in half. He was only a little fella. He picked up Tommy Burgess. He had a great game, you know, and they were very resilient, especially in that first 20, 30 minutes. You know, they were trying really hard.
He's going pretty well now,
You got
Burgess. He's playing well.
10 of them players from Lebanon, they play locally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you got Robbie Farrell, Moses, and Timmy Manor, and all these blokes are sort of gelling these guys together.
But what a buzz for them to be
What a
able to
buzz,
play
you know
against
what I mean?
England,
Like,
against some
and
big names, you know.
I reckon it's great. I mean, there are some sad stories in the World Cup, but then you have a look at the Tongan Samoans, New Zealand, all this sort of stuff, and even Lebanon and PNG and all these sort of teams. It's been great.
Fittler would have the bonding sessions going.
I mean, Freddie is the perfect coach for that.
He is,
For
bringing them
6
together.
weeks, he would have brought them all together, have fun, play for the jersey. He would have brought right into the culture. I've been following some of the boys on the Insta message, and he's been right into he's playing the drums, he's doing the dances and stuff like that. So Freddie's been unreal for him, and they'll get to the quarters.
Yeah.
And that's a massive for Lebanon.
Yeah.
So PNG beat Ireland 14-6. Again, it was unbelievable. The atmosphere up there. I mean, Ren, as we said, you've been up there. You've seen what it's like. The atmosphere up there is just phenomenal. They are just embracing this World Cup so much.
Absolutely. We can't speak highly enough of Papua New Guinea and the way they're getting behind their team. You know, the country's getting behind the team, and they even embraced the Irish and the Welsh when they came as well. So they just love rugby league in general, and to see them go through,
knock you out. And
then
pick you up. It's just
say sorry.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
I'll take your head off. But are you okay?
I love the way they play the game. I love exactly what you said. They
they're
embrace the whole thing. And some of them players, if the NRL aren't watching, like if I can see if some person can play NRL, that winger, he's unstoppable. He's a bulked up version of Marcus Bai, and he was a big man. I mean, a couple of their forwards. I'm not saying every single one of them, but
Yeah.
God damn, you can put one of them on the wing for
Well,
some.
don't steal all our players for our PNG NRL team. They can have a little bit of a lead-up run, but they're coming back for our NRL team.
But he'll come back to the PNG Cornwalls.
We got them there. So, and actually, Ireland have been the surprise package of this tournament. They put Italy away, and they've competed against PNG. I didn't expect much from Ireland, even though I've got an Irish passport. And
I'm 25% Irish.
Strongly Irish, mate. There's only 100%. You know, you're 25% of everywhere. So, but yeah, the Irish have been
I'll
good.
show you my DNA.
Okay. So, but haven't they been good?
Yeah, they've been good in previous World Cups as well. I mean, they took PNG down to the wire, didn't they? And they were great in the first game. You know, they've got some experience in their team as well.
I think they underestimate. Like most of that team plays Super League. The number 11 for him, he plays for St Helens. He's played probably about 200 or 300 games for him. Like he's a hard man, and he's been carving up on that left edge. And he would have been a handful. He scored a good try against PNG. I think against Italy, Italy's probably been the most disappointed team I've seen. When you got Vaughan, Arvalo, Minicello, Nathan Brown in your starting pack, and they all start for NRL teams, and you can't get a team over the line or dominate another forward pack. So there's something wrong with the coaching, or they just don't give a shit.
Well,
and you've got Tedesco out the back.
They've stopped punching each other in the head long enough to beat USA by 46 points to nil. So at least they're back in form.
I like Ireland. They've probably been the most impressive Northern Hemisphere team apart from England.
And what about Fiji?
Oh, man.
Unbelievable. I mean, admittedly, that Welsh side would be lucky to get a run in the reserve grade.
Yeah,
but
they haven't been tested yet, Fiji. No doubt they've got a great side. I think it's a little bit detrimental to their maybe performance going into the quarters that they haven't been tested.
They haven't had a good game.
I don't know if they're going to be fit enough to compete with the top teams, and that's what worries me about Tonga as well. They're going to I think they can knock off England and New Zealand. I don't know about the Aussies. I think it's going to come down to fitness when we get into the quarters and into the semis. No disrespect, but it's just the fact of the matter is that the top nations train hard.
I think the plus side on the Tongan bit is the people that have played at such a high level with Origin in Australia, like Jennings, Fafita, Tupou, Hopewadi. There's about 6 or 7 that have played in grand finals, won grand finals, have played in massive games. So even Taumalolo and all these guys, Takeaho, they've all played representative football. So there should be one or two, 3 of them that can just get all their heads into one space. and lead them, and know what it takes to beat an Australian side, to beat a New Zealand side. It's just not going to take brute strength. It's going to take 80 minutes. It's going to take playing for 80 minutes. No drop balls, no stupid penalties, that they've been shown ill discipline. And that's where the Jennings and all them sort of guys are going to come into it, because they're young, like Hingano and Lolohea, two young halves. They're just going to listen to the rest of the boys. But, Fafita knows what's going on. He knows how to win games. Taumalono knows how to win big games. So they've been in the trenches in Origin and in Test football and grand finals, where you've got to go to that next level. And they've got to teach them young kids, these little games here is nothing compared to what we're going to do this week against New Zealand and going forward.
You'd be looking over your shoulder if you had Fiji in the quarters.
Yeah.
They're definitely a dangerous team.
Well, this week they're playing against Italy, which again won't test them too much. I mean, they should put some points in the Italians.
The Italians will be playing for pride now, especially after what Willie said. They'd be pretty embarrassed if they've got that much experience in a forward pack. So I think they might test the Fijians a little bit. But
a tough side, man. They've got a tough forward pack. Their forward pack versus Fiji, they should dust Fiji up in the forwards. But it's just the ridiculous backline and Jared Hayne factor that you just can't deal with.
Yeah, and their wingers. I mean, they're outstanding. They're just playing all around really good, Fiji.
And Samoa play against Scotland this week. I can't see Scotland.
Yeah, look, it's a dangerous game. It's up in Cairns. Obviously the elements. Samoa's going to be a little bit more used to the heat than the Scots, but it's the fundamentals again that Samoa need to get right.
They've been a bit disappointing.
They have. Look, they're playing with effort. I can't say anything bad about their effort, but it's just the fundamentals, the drop balls.
The execution.
The execution. It's just, when they offload, they're a really hard team to beat. They started offloading against Tonga, and they started getting Tonga at 6s and 7s. But when they were playing that structured footy, it just wasn't them.
It's not the way the Islands play. What are you structuring for?
It's just the way the game's going. That you have to have some sort of structure to compete with these better teams. So Samoa, if they get their ball control right, execution, fundamentals, they should put Scotland away quite easily. But then they play Australia in the quarters. So they've got a huge task in front of them.
They'll just be glad Johnny Walker's not on the field.
He might be after the field.
After the game. Well, Scotland are gone after that. It's bye-bye Scotland. So there'll be plenty of Johnny. He's back. Australia play Lebanon. Australia win.
Well, I think it's a perfect ground. Perfect situation for Lebanon versus Australia. The Lebanese community should be pumped. They know they're going to get to the quarterfinals. They get to play against some of the players that they watch on TV every single week. They get to compete against them. They might never ever get to compete against Billy Slater.
Will the Australians turn up though?
The Australians will turn up.
You reckon?
Yeah, 100%. They got these. Anyone that you replace an Australian member with is going to come in. You're going to probably take your spot in another 2 years. Anyway.
Oh no, not the players. I mean the crowd. You're talking about the Lebanon. There's going to be a big crowd.
I think we might get 10. I was going to say, but I think probably nearly 20,000 Lebanese will turn up. They will go crazy.
500 Australians.
And probably about 2,000 Aussies. But I think it'd be a great atmosphere. We've played for the Bulldogs for years. Yeah. There's at least 20,000 Lebanese supporters there.
Even before the England game, they showed pictures of the crowd. They've got the drums and everything, so they're going to get behind Lebanon.
The atmosphere's going to be great.
The atmosphere will be fantastic. But everyone's looking forward to the quarters.
Well, PNG will be, because they are guaranteed a spot. They'll put USA by plenty. If I was USA, I would not be looking forward to this.
Just a couple of teams that I just feel sorry for. The Welsh team and the Yanks.
Mate, they'd be having the ball. They'd be out there.
But I mean,
they have 80 bad minutes a week.
Your last game's against who? The Kumals? No thanks. I'd rather play against Scotland, Ireland, any other team by the Kumals in Moresby.
In their last game.
In my last game. Give me the strongest Australian side, Tongan, Samoan side. I'd rather play against any of them, apart from Port Moresby.
They're so tough.
They don't care. They'll play the game. They'll play the US like they're playing against Australia, like it's their last game. That's their mentality. So you know what? Keep it away from me.
So Wales, Ireland. If Ireland win that, can they make the quarters?
No.
The Irish are gone.
That's done.
So that's a nothing game. No one cares about that game. Well, they might. There's pockets of Ireland and Wales may care, but the rest of us don't. And then we've got England versus France. Now, England, they'd just be wanting to get that out of the way, wouldn't they?
Well, the Pommies hate the French. The French hate the Pommies. So it's going to be a rivalry game. The French are going to go out as hard as they can, and so is the English team. But the English are going to show their class, hopefully, and they'll want to put the Frenchies away. So they're not going to muck around, because they know the next game is going to be the real deal. So this game here is very important to get some continuity going. Probably put your A side in, and really put a score up on someone, so you can go into that next round in the quarters with a bit of confidence.
And the game of the round, that's why I left it to the end, building the excitement levels.
I know
is
what you
obviously,
like, I know what you like, I know
I
what
just
you
like
like.
to build it. And New Zealand versus Tonga. Now,
Can't wait.
this is going to be an absolute cracker. And I was saying to you boys before, I think if Tonga win this game, it makes this whole World Cup legitimate, because everyone's talked about this bloke going here, not wanting to play there. If New Zealand, it's always been Australia and New Zealand, and to some extent England. If Tonga beat New Zealand over there, this is massive.
Change the game. It'll change the world game.
Yep.
And
There's no reason why Tonga can't win this game.
None.
They've got a great team. Their line speed against Samoa was fantastic. Ball control comes in again. Execution. Their young halfback has been doing a great job of leading them around. He hasn't played much first grade himself. So this is where the senior players really need to stand up. New Zealand are in for a battle, and I can't wait to see the crowd again.
I just want to see Blair Taumalolo. Blair's opened his mouth and said he's going to try and take him on. Good luck, I say. 120-kilo bowling ball, can run like the wind with footwork. That's a pretty hard task. But Blair, he's a very proud Maori man, and he plays the game hard. Good luck to him. But he's going to come at Taumalolo, and Taumalolo's not that dude. He's not the aggressor. His actions speak louder than words. He ain't going to say shit. He's just going to go at you, go at you, go at you, go at you, until maybe the 70th minute when you slip up and he runs straight through you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the rest of the Kiwi squad has to follow Blair, and I know that Tongan pack is better than the New Zealand pack, and even the back line. You know what I mean? I think Tonga on paper has a better side, apart from Johnson, which I think Johnson has massive pressure on him now.
Yeah,
He's been floating through, just doing a couple of little good things here and there. But like, for them to win and for them to beat Tonga, he has to carve Tonga up. He has to lead them all around the park. His kicking game, all these little things. He's been sort of floating under the radar. But for New Zealand to go that next level, Johnson has to go that next level.
Yeah.
And the whole country knows that. You can only rely on your forwards so much. Johnson's probably the most skilled player in this whole comp. He needs to really stamp his authority on the game and go to that next level and show everyone how great he is. If he doesn't, Tonga's going to win.
And I honestly hope that they do, to be honest. I think it'd be great for the international game, and it would legitimise, as we said, or as I said, it would legitimise basically this entire thing.
Yeah, you don't think Taumalolo's just going to go, you know what, why I chose Tonga? So I can beat the shit out of you blokes. You know what I mean? Same as for Fifita, when they get to play against Australia and all these other players, Takeaho, all these guys, they chose Tonga. It's a massive, massive thing. This is why everybody keeps talking about it. Now they get the chance now to prove why they chose Tonga.
And one thing that the International Rugby League should be looking at too is if Tonga do beat New Zealand and basically, they give themselves an opportunity to be a world-class international side, then they need to be organising more games for them so that they're not just playing every 4 years.
It's not as easy as that. There's a process, and obviously the NRL season's extremely long. So, they've got the Anzac test, and you've got the tour at the end of the year plus Origin. They've been trying to bring in maybe a Pacific kind of Origin, like Samoa, Tonga, Fiji. Maybe they do have those one-off tests during the year, but have them more consistently.
Yeah, it's not big. It's not big enough because
They
we
need more
love that. I
games.
think after this, the success of the Pacific Island teams, someone was trying to toss up. I know there's a lot of football. I don't want to put any more football in the NRL players and stuff like that. But Origin should nearly stand alone, I think. Just say if they play on the Wednesday, but on the weekend they have this Pacific Islander tri-nations, just like the Origin. You know what I mean? Like Tonga, Samoa, and New Zealand play against each other in the exact same. So the fans aren't missing out. Most of the players aren't missing out. And even if you throw an Indigenous side in there, you know what I mean? There's ways to promote the island game. I mean, I'm only just spitballing here, but that'd be great if Origins is held on the Wednesday, and then on the weekend you still get your weekend footy, but it's just like a Tri-Nations or a Four Nations or something like that. It can work out over 6 weeks.
The NRL are definitely looking at that. It's a
They've
process, and some coaches not letting their key players play for the Pacific Nations is a little bit disappointing because we do want to grow our game. But you're definitely right. The Pacific Nations need more games to compete against the top teams.
Yep.
You either want to grow the game or you don't. And if coaches are holding players back, I just think it's
that was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Now they're letting them play a little bit more. There's still a couple of coaches that are going, can you get an operation first?
What's more important, a grand final or a dead rubber kind of.
And what's at the end of the day, who's paying your wages?
Exactly.
The club. You know, and this is what happens with the Tongans and the Samoans. They don't get paid hardly any money. Like the Aussies are getting paid 20 grand, 30 grand a test. They might get 5 grand. Equal
Not
it
even
out.
that.
Not even that. You
get an allowance. That's all you get.
An allowance. And there's some of the
you play for the jersey.
Yeah, it is.
Simple
That's
as
all
that.
they're playing for that. But we need to put more money into the islands. So it's worth playing for Tonga than New Zealand than Australia. Until they start doing that, people are going to always, just after this World Cup, slowly drizzle back into New Zealand.
Watching the Sippy Town, the Civvy Town, I reckon there'd be plenty of those blokes that'd play for the love of the jersey alone. And
Yeah, but I mean, like, pay the boys. They're going out there playing the hardest game. Against Samoa versus Tonga is one of the hardest, most physical games up there. So pay them accordingly.